Alright, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Connor on Chance. Let's cover a few things in the market today. I just wanted to pull up a few things. So I want to cover a little bit about Hyperliquid and the Hyper EVM, that entire ecosystem that has been running, that has been doing very well lately. A little bit more about subnets. I want to cover a little bit more, about a couple gems. Obviously, well, Bitcoin, majors, stuff like that. There's one tweet. Let me see, ecosystem. I just had it up, and of course I deleted it. I think 12 seconds ago. Right here. So with Hyperliquid, if you guys have not heard of it, this is a massive, massive project. I'm surprised, it's not on more people's radar. Huge chain, huge ecosystem. What this project is doing, though, is they have obviously Hyperliquid is its own chain, it's its own platform, but they have integrated they call it Hyper EVM, which kind of just enables Ethereum based smart contracts to be able to just be integrated and used so people can actually buy it or buy into these coins without going straight through the Hyperliquid platform. What am I doing? Deck screener. So we get Hyperliquid and Hyper EVM. The thing is too is this has been an ecosystem that I saw coming. This is something that it's almost what every single new chain, new L1 ends up doing. If it becomes a really popular chain, a really strong chain, every single time the same playbook happens. I could tell people this for the next 5 years because it will continue to happen. Perfect example. So I'll show you guys Hyperliquid, the eco right now. We'll pull up Vapor because Vaporware Fund. This was a project I was actually very bullish on in the past. Initially, we saw this down here like 20 million. But Hyperliquid Eco, this, I'm not trying to bring up Vapor here. Do not buy this. It's literally called Vaporware.fun for a reason. I mean, it's at zero now. But this kind of sums up the whole Hyperliquid ecosystem. This was an AI play, which is why it ran so hard. But Hyperliquid, when it launched, for a while it had some attention, because Hyperliquid from launch ended up running. It was one of the only projects I've ever seen in history have a massive, massive airdrop. And for months after, it actually continued a very strong organic uptrend. I genuinely have not seen a single coin other than Hyperliquid ever do that. Literally the one exception in history of my research in crypto. And I'm talking about this right here, is because most coins, what they do at launch, and I talk about this all the time. If you guys watch a lot of my old videos, every time a coin launches, it will do this, launch, whatever, and just go down only for months, for 6 months, for 12 months, whatever the fuck it is. Sometimes, it's maybe a month and a half, 2 months. Every single launch, but Hyperliquid was the only one that didn't do that. Had a very organic run, straight from launch, continued to run, pumped for, about a month, right? But then it actually continued to hold for a long time until obviously the entire market nuked, which, this dump here, I don't contribute to just Hyperliquid itself. That was everything in the market, right? From literally like January, February on, just nuked to zero. But Hyperliquid now has finally had a huge recovery, has been going nuts. And the thing is now we got the entire Hyperliquid ecosystem that has actually had that revival. And, a good way to see it is actually on Hyperliquid itself. We'll go to Hyper EVM in a minute. But Hyperliquid, like itself down here, you can actually see the full history. Like a lot of these coins launched, and what did they do? They dumped. They went to zero. There's hype around all these Hyperliquid coins for a while. Ecosystem dumped for months. And then what happened? Things are starting to recover. Things are starting to bounce. happens with every single chain at some point. Not every chain. Some chains really just don't end up doing anything. But something like Hyperliquid ended up nuking whatever, sat down here for a while. This is Liquid here. This is one project I've been watching for a while too. But this just sums up the entire chart of everything with when layer ones end up launching, when they're hype, and then when they die out. And then when they die out for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and then they finally revive, if the team is still building, if it becomes that really strong chain like Hyperliquid has been, that's when these ecosystem coins end up completely reviving and going nuts and going well into new all-time highs. But like one right here is Per. 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 This coin ended up going same thing and ended up running like crazy. Nuked again for a couple months. I mean, even here it was kind of sideways for a while, all 2024. But Hyperliquid Eco got a ton of hype in December. Very similar to when Virtual was kind of popping off too. Ended up nuking. And then same thing. It seems like most of the eco is finally starting to get attention again. Mainly because things have been pumping, aka hype has been pumping. But I wanted to pull up those Hyper EVM, a couple projects, which is actually the ones that I just brought up. Because, there's so many different projects. I personally have not been focusing on memes like at all within these new ecosystems. But something like Per, something like Liquid, I would say both of these are probably very high risk. But these probably have a better chance, which is just any sort of projects that are, I look at it just any sort of projects that are very degen based, projects that resemble a pump fund, projects that resemble some sort of trading bot, a trading platform, any sort of DeFi based plays, a DEX, very simple things that, people are going to actually need to use, or especially for like launching coins within the ecosystem. Things like that are usually going to be your best play. And when we're in this kind of market right now, anything related to a pump fund slash launch a coin on a certain chain, usually that is going to be a very good play, regardless of what the chain is or ecosystem. And it's something I just think is, it's almost like as simple as if you guys were here in the last bull run. What a lot of people did was kind of what I'm talking about, but they just find a new chain that launched a new ecosystem, and they would just buy the DEX. You just go, oh, what is the DEX? What's the DEX for this chain? Let me buy it, and it was easy as that. That to me is the equivalent of pump fund like platforms this cycle for any sort of chain. Anything that has an AI agent launchpad or just a coin launching mechanism, especially with like actual fundamentals behind it, really good things like whether it's buybacks, rewards for whatever. I don't even know. Bunch of different things that are actually bullish for it, and they're not just extracting data, not data, extracting funds just straight out of people's pockets all the time. But for Hyperliquid Eco, it has been doing pretty well the last week and a half. Things were really pumping. Everything's down like crazy today, but those are a couple of coins that I've been watching for a little bit. I have a few other tweets up because we also want to cover this. We'll go to, excuse me. We got taostats.io. The classic site that I use to look at Bitensor subnets. We got subnets. There has been so much FUD, so much shit going on with subnets. I don't know why. I don't know why people are just, stressing so heavy over these and this, that, and the other thing. But lots of different projects have been doing very well. Lots of projects have been dumping like crazy. We have one here, Shoots, which is actually starting to get more of an uptrend now. But this thing has been kind of down for a while. But Shoots, I think, is just a powerhouse. It's literally like the number one subnet, like literally the number one subnet. Probably won't stop. I think this is going to continue to go up. Even from here, we got Tau hash, which this is a very interesting one. Bottom line, like, chart, this thing just went parabolic months ago. We get it off, I don't know why it's automatically on log though, or logarithmic chart. But this thing went parabolic. It really just hasn't pulled back. And I personally hate charts like this because, in my opinion, yes, it actually looks primed to at least have like one more leg up here. I would not be surprised. But I don't like looking at charts like this because to me, after it pumps 200x, there's a way higher chance of seeing some sort of downside. But fundamentally, it's very strong. I don't think this is going anywhere. And I am actually bullish on Tau hash. But Gradients 2 is another one. Same exact thing. It's like we're seeing so many dips within the Tau ecosystem or Bitensor ecosystem. Lots of things are just down from their highs. Some things are looking like they're recovering, which is good. But the thing I wanted to bring up too is we got a couple subnets like Sturdy. And I actually just saw a tweet the other day on another one that apparently is going to attempt to bring liquidity from these subnets onto Solana, which if and when we do actually see that, a working, very strong mechanism for that. Bottom line, where we're seeing subnets easily tradable on Solana to be able to buy and sell them in a Phantom wallet, that is going to be a massive catalyst to pump the crap out of subnets. I firmly believe that. So if we see a subnet successfully do that, like yes, you can bet on the subnet, because it's building that. I think that's decent, but I think when we see that, that is going to drive a lot more liquidity into subnets. Obviously, it's not going to drive the liquidity into, the Bitensor, whether, we want to call it the Bitensor chain itself. But, nonetheless, it's going to drive a lot of these subnets to crazy valuations, in my personal opinion. But that is going to be if and when they finally are on Sol. So that is what I wanted to mention because, Sturdy Finance is one that's working on it. And like I said, there's, I think, one or two more that are actually trying to work on that too. But if we do end up seeing that, these are going to go nuts. A lot of these. So, one, it's a good thing to be prepared beforehand if and when that does happen. And or two, what you could do even too is just wait for that to happen. Because the day that it happens, I don't think it's going to get traction. It might take a few days. It might take a week, couple weeks for crypto Twitter, the rest of the degens to actually realize, oh shit, you can buy unbelievable AI projects that are actually on Bitensor, on Solana. They're not going to realize it at first. And it's probably going to take a few tweets from some bigger people. But I think, if and when all of these do launch, or some of them, I think it's going to be a very asymmetric, easy bet to be on because you already know that this ecosystem exists. A lot of people don't even realize it exists, even still. So I think it's very key to be paying attention to that because I like to look at where is the degen capital in crypto going to flow. That is a huge factor in a lot of my research. I mean, at least especially for things like that when it comes to, obviously most liquidity is still just trading on like Solana. But if we see an inflow of degeneracy begin on Solana for subnets at some point, I think that'll drive these crazy. And the reason why is because, we're not seeing an inflow of retail. We haven't seen an inflow of retail, and I don't even know since when. And it's like bottom line, in the last 6 to 12 months in the market, and I'd say probably most of this cycle so far, to make money, you actually have to front run the rest of Twitter. You have to front run the rest of YouTube, the rest of everyone in crypto. You're not front running retail because no one's outside of crypto, no one's actually just all going all in on crypto right now. At least that's my firm belief. And bottom line, even though I think like that, it doesn't mean that retail is not coming. I think they will come at some point. But if you can speculate and be earlier than everyone else in crypto, that's where you make the best capital, in my opinion. But then on top of that, if retail does end up coming at some point, it's not even the fact that you just front run the entire crypto space, but now you front run the crypto space and retail. So it's just a lot extra that you can throw right on top of everything. That's how I look at it and how I focus on, like I said, most of my research with whether it's degen plays to even more high risk stuff. That's how you got to look at in this market. But um, that was mainly what I wanted to cover today because, like I said, those are still two ecosystems I'm very bullish on. I believe in very hard. Obviously, virtual is the third. I consider it like the trifecta for me right now. For the last, I don't know how many months now, it's been Hyperliquid, Bitensor, and virtual. I've been probably the three high caps I've been very bullish on. Even if I'm not investing in certain coins in the ecosystem, this, that, and the other thing. Overall, all three ecosystems, incredible potential at different times. And especially going forward, I think they're still early. But I saw this tweet here from Fred Krueger. This was kind of interesting. I just want to end the video with some random thing I saw. Ultimately, there will be a fork. He's talking about Bitcoin in the fact when there will be a time when quantum technology is fully built out to where it can actually crack a lot of the cryptography mechanisms we got today, that secures crypto in today's time. But quantum resistant Bitcoin and Bitcoin Classic, the big money will recognize and push QRB. Some will fight it. Bitcoin Classic will become the new Ethereum Classic, which me personally, I don't know what Ethereum. I actually don't even know what Ethereum Classic is. Like, I really don't. And I honestly do not care. But I assume it's just probably whether an old fork or an upgrade or something of Ethereum that is obviously no longer, in use. So it was completely obsolete by Ethereum today. But it's interesting with quantum resistant Bitcoin because if that actually is true, I personally would be on that side too of, it's like you got to do something with it because if quantum technology is actually out, anything and everything crypto related is completely screwed, And to be on the other side of that and fighting it, I think you'd be stupid. I just look at it with any sort of technology. It's like you always got to front run what's going to be next. And quantum is going to be a problem in the future at some point. And again, if you can try to be early on something like that, even though it's probably not going to change, I don't know how it would change or what it's going to do, but kind of interesting overall. But I have no idea. Just thought that was pretty interesting because it's weird to think about quantum with, just where the future of crypto would be going. So outside of that, that is what I wanted to cover today. Very random thought here. Just wanted to put it up there. But I appreciate it, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.